All right, guys. Staccato XC versus the Legion 226, which is a completely insane comparison, I know. But I'm doing it anyway. Put up a video discussing the trigger characteristics. Well, that's not really what happened. I mean, I was out training with a friend of mine who's headed to a big match. The deal I cut with him, and I mean, he's very good, right? But the deal I cut is like, I'm going to shoot the Glock with you. If I'm just beating on you with that, I'll switch to the 226. And that's what I ended up shooting most of the time with the guys, was the 226. And then when we were doing some distance shooting, I mean, I just wanted to make the training tougher. Over the course of doing some distance shooting just for fun, I pulled out the XC. And it was kind of fun to shoot a similar type of drill and get it on video, both with the 226 and the XC, and then talk about it because, like I said, it's a crazy comparison, but it's kind of fun to do. So let's get into your comments on the Staccato XC versus SIG 226 Legion trigger. First one, I see the SIG check bounce. Well, in my comparison, the XC is definitely easier to shoot at 50 yards than the factory 226 Legion. So guys are saying the SIG check bounced. Makes sense to me. All right, lots of SIGers saying you should have gotten the single action only, but I'm glad you got the double single. It's nice to see you going back to your roots on the old school service type pistol. Now, I did see a lot of comments where it's like, oh, you should get the single action with the 226, and I get that. I hear that. Look, I have other single action guns. Obviously, single action has some real advantages. But the thing with the 226 is nobody really does double action better, right? With this really nice mechanical decocker right on the frame. I think it's great. It's just I wouldn't want this pistol any other way. I wouldn't want the single action just because the double is so good and so interesting. Like if you're going to have a double single, like this is the one to look at, I think, first. Hey Ben, thanks for posting your experiences, both good and not so good, with the 226. I have a 226 TAC Ops I'm using in USPSA Limited Optics, and I love it. Bought a SIG factory slide, optics ready slide, and swapped out the factory end. So it's okay, great. I want to insult your intelligence with what I've done to it, as you probably have much more experience and contacts regarding work to the gun, but you're right, a trigger job will go a long way. Yes, it would do that. The nice thing is you can switch grips. Yep, I could do that. I can swap out the slide and shoot production. Yep, I could do that also. All right. No, you guys just talking. That's great. The SIG Armor can do amazing things with that gun. Yes, now I have ordered a Gray Guns kit. I think the hammer strut and some springs. I did order that kit for this from Gray Guns. The SIG Armor is stuff people say good stuff about too. I have the SIG Armor disconnector for my 320. I don't know if that counts. All right, next one. I highly recommend Gray Guns parts for the 226 and 229. The trigger becomes something else. Light, smooth, precise. Shortens the already short reset trigger of the Legions. Okay, yeah, I'll try some other stuff. I've shot some slick 226s that you can definitely get them to be like a racy type of trigger and be reliable. It's just, that's not the way they come from the factory. P226 single action only is what you should have bought. A lot of likes on that comment. I just don't agree. I think the 226 single action only is like, it's fine. Like, I get why you would want that. But the double, it's all about the double with that gun. The double single 226 is so interesting, and the single action 226, I guess, is fine, but does it really compete with the 2011? I mean, really? All right, the 226 is my favorite pistol ever made, but the XC's trigger is way better. I mean, yes, I think obviously. Heavy double actions are heavy double actions. Great trigger if you're reholstering inches from your junk, but not great for shooting 25 yards. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. It's like this gun does feel very safe. The heavy double action is, like you said, it's heavy. Now, it's very shootable at distance. Like it's the ergonomics of it make it so it's not hard for me to hold the gun straight and roll the trigger back. It's not really about that. It just feels a little bit clunkier, a little bit slower to be shooting this thing that way. Ben, the 226 Legion single action only is definitely an improvement over the double single. It's cleaner, more simple trigger pull. A Gray Guns trigger helps it more. The one thing I don't like about the 226 SAO trigger is the over travel could be shorter. Okay. The Gray Gun shoe has a set screw to minimize over travel. All right, cool. From there, I started to prefer to shoot it over my Staccato P, which stays in storage now. A friend says you dislike the safety on this model. My experience with the safety on it is that it flips a little too easily at times. Well, I don't know. I don't remember like messing with the safety on that particular model of 226, but I do believe you. I think the ergonomics on the 226, if you make it a single action gun, it's not as baller as the double action gun. It's fine. It's probably serviceable for most people, but I just don't want it. I just don't. Interesting, my SIG Legion 226 with the Gray Guns parts has the best double action, single action of any gun I've ever experienced. Well, I don't have the Gray Guns parts, man. Including those of tuned Langdon Berettas, but not better than my full custom CZ Shadow 2s. Okay. I mean, I guess. Also, you can try throwing a slightly lighter hammer spring in it. Yes, I know. It will reduce the double action pull by about 2 pounds. I only went down about 1 or 2 pounds, so it's still been 100% on all factory ammo, remand stuff. You know, it's been fine. Okay, yes, I hear you. Now, that's what I mean. The double action on this thing with a hammer spring it's kind of excessive. You can tell just playing with it. It doesn't need to be as heavy as it is. There's just plenty of margin for safety in there. A lighter hammer spring is not a heavy lift, and I'm sure would help a lot. Okay, so isn't this where you double down on the SIG bit and order a Gray Guns trigger kit for the 226? Yes, it is. I did order it. I think you would be really digging the single action only version more since it's basically the same as a Staccato. It also, it's not the same as a Staccato, though. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. The rest of the ergonomics around is not designed for the gun to be that way, so it's not going to be the same as a Staccato. Flip-flops are never acceptable footwear, says Pat Nat McNamara. Like, well, that is crazy. Flip-flops are amazing. I know you accidentally said you bought the SIG 226 X5 Legion instead of the standard Legion, but you should. The X5 trigger's fantastic. Yeah, that's the one that's single action only, though, right? SIG 226 X5 Legion. I believe that was my confusion. Is those are the single action deals, which again, that's cool if that's what you want. I don't want that shit. See, caliber 9, blah blah blah, more specific. They have 3 versions of it. This is the problem with SIG, is it's way too complicated. Barrel length, weight, sight radius, trigger type, flat-faced AX3. The flat-faced AX3 that's the single action one, right? I mean, it looks cool. I'll give it that. It looks pretty cool. But with the safety on it, like, yeah, that's a single action gun. See, like, that's cool. Like, it looks nice. It's just, like, make this make sense over shooting, I don't know, some other. It's just the double action's so good, man. Like, what is the price of this thing? Let's just settle this. SIG 226 X5 Legion price. 21 or 2200 is the MSRP, it looks like. I guess I'm not really price sensitive. I would buy that shit, but you know, I'm just going to keep saying it. Double single's better. It's just more interesting. All right. SIG 226 X5 is where the aha moment happens in regard to the trigger. 4-way adjustment is amazing compared to the Staccato. Well, okay, well, not to be a dick, but the one thing I appreciate about this XC from the factory is they did the adjustment correctly before they sent it to me. So it's like a little bit of take up, firm wall, minimal over travel. I can feel everything that's happening. If you just send me a trigger that doesn't need to be adjusted, I'm not going to complain. But if you send me a trigger that can be adjusted 4 ways, but it's not adjusted properly, like, that's a little bit annoying. Okay. Okay, well, I said the trigger is so stiff. Reply to that is, oh, come on now. Other YouTubers tell us the trigger pull just doesn't matter. Now what do we do? Yeah, the trigger pull, it's more of a comfort thing. It's just like when I'm shooting the 226, I just feel like I'm waiting for something to happen. Like I'm just waiting for the gun to go off because I don't want to, shove on it or, crank back on the trigger and cause problems myself. I want everything to, I want the round to go straight. So I just feel like I have to be very, very patient. All right, you went and pissed the SIG fanboys off. Their heads are exploding. I thought the Glock fanboys had tender feelings, but they are salty compared to the SIG boys. That may be the thing. I just don't know. Anyway, guys, I think it's an unfair comparison to compare the 226 and the XC, but it's definitely fun. I'm going to keep doing it. I appreciate all the comments, and we'll keep things rolling.